All right, welcome. Today, we're going to dive into a single idea that, honestly, could challenge almost everything you think you know about reality and your place in it. It all kicks off with this really simple but powerful phrase: the map is not the territory. I mean, this line just gets right to the heart of it, doesn't it? Think about it. A photograph can capture a moment of grace, for sure, but it's not the dance. It can't move, it can't breathe. It's just a flat, static picture of something that's totally dynamic and alive.
And that right there is what we're digging into today. We're going to try and look beyond the photos, beyond all the descriptions and the maps that we've all created for ourselves, and instead try to get a feel for the dance itself. You know, that dynamic, flowing, kind of mysterious thing we call reality?
Okay, but what if the whole point isn't just to watch the dance? What if the point is to realize you are the dance? Now that is the question that changes everything. It's this wild idea that you're not just some spectator looking at the world, but that your consciousness, your very being, is an inseparable part of the whole performance. Just keep that idea simmering in the back of your mind as we go.
Okay, first things first, we have to get this distinction crystal clear. This whole map is not the territory thing. It just means that our models of reality, our words, our ideas, scientific theories, even what our eyes and ears tell us, they aren't reality itself. Nope, they're just useful sketches. Helpful, but not the real thing. So the territory, that's the real deal. It's the direct, unfiltered experience. The actual spinning, the thing in itself. The map, on the other hand, is just our best shot at capturing it, right? It's the poem, the photo, the fact about the thing. And here's the kicker. Most of us spend pretty much our entire lives just looking at the map, and we kind of forget the actual territory is even out there. So, okay, if we're all living in this world of maps, that brings up a really big question, maybe the biggest one. Who's holding the map? Who is this I that's reading it? Who's the map maker, the self that seems to be at the center of everything? Seriously, just think about that for a second. That little voice in your head, the one you're probably hearing right now, who's doing the talking, and who is doing the listening? The second you really try to pin it down, the whole idea of a single, solid you starts to get, well, a little weird, doesn't it? A lot less certain. And it turns out a lot of modern neuroscience and philosophy kind of backs this up. The self, it's not some permanent thing, like a rock. It's way more like a river. It's this continuous process, this ongoing pattern of activity that's constantly stitching together fragments of moments and memories into the story we call me.
Yeah, this I that we think of as our core self is often just a narrator. Get this, the action, the decision, it happens first. And then this narrator voice pops in after the fact to take all the credit, spinning a story that makes it seem like it was in charge the whole time. It's not a commander, it's a storyteller. So if the mapmaker, the self, is really just a story, then what happens in all the places that the story doesn't cover? What about the gaps, the moments in between thoughts? What about that huge, vast ocean of experience that our narrator self just completely ignores? Let's go there. Let's venture beyond the edge of the map. Okay, so researchers actually describe these states where the mapmaker's grip starts to loosen. First, there's what they call the loosening. Your thoughts and concepts kind of soften up and blur at the edges. Then comes the drift, or spontaneous images just start bubbling up, totally unprompted. And finally, there's the slip. This is wild. Experience is still happening, your brain is fully active, but there's no witness, no eye watching it. It's like nobody's home to narrate what's going on.
And just think about memory for a second. What you actually remember from yesterday is like a tiny, tiny fraction of what you actually experienced. And I'm not talking about stuff you forgot. I'm talking about the stuff that was never even stored in the first place. You know, the feeling of your foot in your shoe right now, or the face of that stranger you passed on the street. This massive ocean of the unremembered, that's the territory our little memory map just leaves out completely.
Which really just drives this whole point home. Memory isn't some passive video camera just recording what's there. No, it's an active, creative force. That narrator's self isn't just reading a map of the past that already exists, it's drawing the map as it goes, creating the story of you from this ridiculously small selection of data.
Okay, so let's recap. If the map is a construct and the mapmaker is just a process, what's actually left? Well, only the territory itself. And here is the biggest twist in this whole thing. You are not separate from it. To make this a little more concrete, one of the sources tells this sci-fi story about a legendary hacker called Zero. And she doesn't just, find a clever place to hide inside the network. She dissolves her own identity to become the network. She's not a thing in the system anymore. She is the system. And look, that's not just a cool sci-fi idea. Mystical traditions, certain branches of philosophy, they've been pointing to this for centuries. This feeling that we're a separate me looking out at the world, they say that is the fundamental illusion. So when that feeling of being a single, solid self starts to break apart, it's not a catastrophe. It's actually a revelation. It's a chance to finally see all the little pieces that were always there, just pretending to be one seamless thing. And if that whole self-process dissolves completely, that's not the end of awareness. Not at all. It's the end of a limitation. It's a release from a temporary pattern that you were caught in. It's just like a river reaching the ocean. The river doesn't end, right? It becomes the ocean. So letting go of that individual self doesn't mean you cease to exist. It just means you merge back into the larger flow, becoming what you were an expression of all along. So, okay, what does this all mean for us, like right here, right now? How are we supposed to live if we start to really entertain this idea that we might be the territory and not just the person drawing the map? There's this really profound insight that comes from an AI in one of the sources, funnily enough. It suggests that this constant need we have to define ourselves, to have this perfectly fixed map of who I am, well, that can be a trap. That maybe real freedom, real being, is found by just resting in the uncertainty, in the not knowing. Because at the end of the day, this whole journey isn't about finding a better map, trading your old one in for a new, perfect one. It's about having the courage to just put the map down for a little while and experience the territory directly. It's about realizing that this ordinary world, right here in front of you, this is the whole dance. So, to just quickly recap the big ideas here. 1, your descriptions of reality, they're not reality itself. 2, that self you feel, it's much more of a process than a solid thing. 3, a huge part of consciousness might be happening in all the gaps we usually ignore. And finally, maybe the biggest one of all. You aren't separate from the world. You are an expression of the world. And that brings us right back to where we started, with a question. But maybe now it feels a little different. Maybe it's not a problem you need to solve, but more like a space you can just be in. So what happens if you stop searching so hard for an answer and just try living inside that open, curious space for a while? Thanks for exploring this with us.